so much to learn. We were talking today about.
Everybody has a seat? Perfect. Thank you to Leo, our Sergeant at Arms, and to Kathy Loveys for filling in today for Assistant Sergeant at Arms. Thanks to Rick for being our greeter today. Did a fantastic job. If I can have who's shaking their head no? How about past President Ed? You want to lead us in the
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
And I could ask everyone to grab a glass, and we'll raise a toast to Canada. To the Queen. The Queen. And the Kitchener Westmount Rotary Club. If any Rotarian has brought guests today, could you please introduce them now?
We're here all day. You got one? I brought a guest, Derek McDonald, my coworker and friend.
Oh, yeah.
John?
Yeah, we have some others here for free lunch. They're part of the organizing committee for my golf tournament. They're going to self-introduce.
Oh, Elena Matuzio,
Bob McKillop.
Don Clark, Sports with Special Athletes.
Denise Benninger,
Diane Boston Knight.
Murray Hurst.
Any other guests? Rotarians, how do we greet our guests? I ask you to bow your heads. Heavenly Father, the path of our lives are filled with peaks and valleys. When we are on the top of our peaks, we become self-satisfied, that we tend to ignore the things of importance. When we are in the valleys, we feel the sense of abandonment, and again can focus only on that, what's in that direction ahead. Remind us, as you do in nature, that all above the tree line and the mountaintops are barren, and the only valleys can be, and only in the valleys can we find the opportunities for true growth. Amen. Can I have our guests please lead us to the buffet?
you're a guest today. Now I know.
Guest speaker. Okay, cool.
I was away last week. How did yours go?
Oh, it went really well.
Right up.
I had Ed back and we kind of like to talk about all
Is that right?
It's quite an opportunity.
My card here, I got it.
I'll take another one, sure.
I know that you're gonna find out, but I got it.
Sure, I can. I'll take it. We're at it. Can I just find Boston Bench or somewhere?
No. It's not gonna be bus
No bus bench.
Yeah. Warm in here. My son just turned 16 today. First day of spring, and then my daughter is turning 16 in October. Oh yeah. No, she seriously. I'm not what happened. We're supposed to get a tournament. Yeah, she was. Yeah, my son and doing something yeah, my kids. The days when we had a big backyard.
Where did you?
Good to see you.
Coming over here?
Well, once the ice melts, I think you have to really yeah, I'm not worried about that. Anyway. We made it.
Okay, so good job. Right in Liberia, it's an hour and 40 minutes northwest. Oh my God. It started with an E.
No, it was,
The resort was
He's heard it. This is
and I wasn't sure.
I heard everything.
You want to know something else? You know how many people like hot air? What guy? What do you do?
You can tell it. Yeah, we were. Yeah, but that's before you.
No, you and I are going
We had the rattle rolling. You want to win, weren't you?
I think the ISC would love to come back.
I declined it was summer job. My wife was younger. Yeah, one.
Well, every year it's caliber goes down.
That's okay. I got another wife. It's not a demand.
We stayed in the town of our now. When is that?
Or Bernie.
Yeah, my office is
Too early.
This is the property or the
Year and a half. No. I know where it is this year. I'm going this year. And then next year, I will be where I don't know the whole 2020.
What are the chances?
nothing for you?
I would like to have a quad cities. Jen Matt's new, but he can maybe do a good job.
The guy that delivered the units in the back of the load, we're all like having her down. Sure,
Yeah, Green Bay is.
nothing like licking your grape.
Must have caught it in the first rain that just ended. What happened is the drain.
Well, we did. That's what they were. Issues in the store.
Because crowded.
That's where we back. They want to go to get on the street.
When I first was doing this, it was Kimberly, 5,000.
It is.
And that's verified by John. They were saying 6,000.
We're normal.
Load it, and then I don't need to run it.
We're in the middle of nowhere.
That's because I have to get my hospital up in
Softball diamond paved for wheelchair. The big year. It was their recreation association. One lady, Kimberly, is $7,000. Special Olympics involved here.
I was blown away when I realized that the way he always plays the role.
I got a plate.
Both times I've come up with they were named after the Jeep.
I know, it's wonderful. I didn't even know they existed.
They were. No, I understand. No, I miles, but they wouldn't get it from the feet, so I don't think.
I don't watch her.
It's just a warning, it's not a... Yeah, I know. A deterrent.
At the end, we and then we had the next one, so everybody else had to answer, so that's how we closed our line
No.
Rob Way is here for last. No.
big year.
Very well. She likes it. Don't want to work on
Trying to get that was my job, to try to get more women on board because it was all men for the first year, and then I got on board on the second year to try and bring more women players. That was challenging, but we had one team, and now we have a division of teams. So we're getting there. It's not all women, but yeah, exactly. Yeah, meetings at one time.
thinking about that and it didn't work out.
So Kelly, how do you know Michelle?
To go to school, to get expensive
She's doing well, she's doing keep it together. I had just come back from Rotary.
Something.
He had played. I mean,
Oh, I know. Oh, yeah, I know. You don't have to tell me. I agree with you.
I know.
He turned around and whipped
So we're going to do that. Well organized as fast so the bottom is I've done most of it, but I want to get her back. She wants to rebuild her thing. That's right. Big rallies that I have yeah, exactly. It's none of the six. It's a lot of when you're at the disco lodge and you go, there's only 2 more. So there's no guarantee we're going to win.
Yeah. That's right. Have one of those little, we're not I know what we're going.
A little bit harder than the round.
Unbelievable.
Good for him.
I was there.
It's a very good term by every year. The ultimate. I have a bet with them.
Don't want to see, you know, they want all this stuff. So we're getting to the part, here's what I did.
People have
So because we have so many people here that are going to ask Neil so many questions, we're going to get going early today. For a start with our announcements, there's a check presentation this Monday at 11:50. Did I say 11:50? Brandon?
That's correct.
At Kids Ability, they'll receive their real check, and we have a photo op presentation there. So if people want to go out and be part of that check presentation at Kids Ability, that's open. On the VFL, Jairus will be here next week to give us a little bit of a rundown on all the prizes. But right now I'm going to call on Leo to do, because he wants to speak a little bit about the draw this year.
So most of you that were on our roster from last year have received your tickets here today. We've done something a little different. Those on the committee know about this. Judy approved it, so we're ready to go from the audit perspective. To help us with reconciliation, whatever, we have to give a big round of applause to Everton and his team for app development. We have an application this year. And sorry if this seems a little rushed, but there have been some challenges, not with the application, but just with process this year with licensing and dealing with banks, etc. You've got your tickets. Tomorrow, Everton through Club Runner is going to send an email with a PDF attachment for instructions on how to log all these online. And the good news is you can now take payments online when you register the tickets. So you'll know right away if the card is good, etc., for the tickets. There is one caveat. You have to talk to Everton. You'll see the math in page 3 of this document. It's pretty straightforward, but we wanted to give you more information rather than less. When it says 2885 or whatever, ignore that green box. It's just the way the app was developed. You can select, cell 1 cell 3, cell 6, cell 20, at the appropriate price, and the math will work out, and there's a payment option as well. Some of the other neat things is you fill out one, sell Ed 20 tickets, it's click, 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 and all 20 get populated. So you fill in name, address, phone number once, and it's batched, and then you can pay for it if it's by a credit card. You still need to write it on the ticket. You should at least write the name.
We're doing this on behalf of the buyer. They're not doing it themselves.
Correct. You're responsible for the, because otherwise it gets unruly and you'll have a lot of calls. So right for the time being, there'll be others in the committee that will be helping with this. For the time being, you have app questions, direct them to Everton and myself. Copy both of us, and we will be happy to answer. Yes.
So we still have to write the names on the stubs because the stub has to go in the bin, right?
Correct, and your name on the back.
Yes. Okay. Good.
Yeah, so this is to try to eliminate some of the problems we had last year with some credit cards that had expired and or there wasn't enough funds on the card to take the card and those type of things. So we're asking that you use the app and put it in if they're giving you a credit card, that we know if the card is good.
And it will help immeasurably on the back end for Judy and her team when they do the required licensing reconciliation throughout the process, and at the end, I think we have, Judy, is it 30 days after it concludes from the last ticket drawn? She's got 30 days to respond to the city to have the license balance. Any other questions? Yeah, go.
Does when you enter the card, does it require the 3-digit security code on the back?
Yeah. All right, I can't. And by the way, thanks to Phil Pegg and Holman Print for eliminating one of our expenses, and Bill has printed all our tickets.
Good for him.
Thank you, Leo. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Everton.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks for the team that's on the VFL committee. Thanks, Jervis. Let me see here. Kids Ability Fun Day is June the 8th, correct?
Yeah.
June the 8th, please mark that on your calendar so that we're there to, we're not taking volunteers as of yet, but I'm just giving you a heads up that we'll be looking for volunteers to help that day. We are the lead club on that this year. Members' birthdays. Oh, there's no birthdays this week. Andrew, what are you doing tomorrow?
Taking my wife out.
Ah, that's good. Tracy's birthday tomorrow. Have no wedding anniversaries this week. Dave joined Rotary. Matt Graham, 3 years. March 17th. Jerry O'Dear, 32 years on March the 19th. Brandon, he is 5 years March the 19th. Karen Boyson, 18 years, tomorrow, March 22nd. And Tim Bradish, 16 years, March 22nd. And let me see here, I've got on the list here Allison Scott for bingo tomorrow. Ed is filling in tomorrow. And I think Julie Powell, I believe. Powell. Powell. Again, we still have the mayor's dinner, the 32nd mayor's dinner on Saturday, April the 13th. And I guess we'll move on to 50-50. We're drawing this week for a whopping $155. So if you have tickets with the last four numbers, 8266 is your first opportunity. 8266.
Oh, no way. Between us. It's one of you. Hey, you are.
Denise wins.
I don't win.
You gotta prove this stuff.
I get to draw your marbles.
Oh, you get to win.
Kelly's lost his marbles.
What you need to do is come around the front here, reach into the
We're gonna
jar,
use a tall person.
Okay.
pull out a white marble.
Look in for it.
You're wanting a black marble?
Put it in the other bidder.
8256.
Good
Tried to
try.
win for you.
Did it with style.
Read the next one.
Yeah.
Sorry.
8264.
That's what it was.
Well, I'm coming. Yeah, we'll take a slight pause here.
Take an intermission.
That's it. Save Neil some speaking.
Yes!
And the plastic gross. And lastly,
You made a lot of people happy.
if you're the holder of ticket number 8265,
Oh my gosh. That's us again. That's us again, yeah.
please join us up here.
Is that you? 265, that's you.
8265?
Yeah.
See, I got my $5.
You are the winner of a Drayton Entertainment package here, donated by Mule Glamy, and it's a free mule. It's a
Just give them the prize.
Come here.
We'll do the photography after.
Come here.
We'll do it later. Do it later, I want to
I'm out of here. Thank you.
A lot of walking, you're gonna get dancing today. You broke the microphone.
Hello, everybody. This is self-introductory today. And if, when I gave my Who Am I 38 years ago, most of you weren't even here. Born, well, except for that table. Anyhow, I was suggested that perhaps we hear the Drayton story, because it's a story that I've been getting asked to call or to speak about and call all over the province. And I thought, nobody, have you ever done it for your own Rotary Club? So here I am. How many, first of all, have never been to a Drayton Theatre production? Good. That means everybody knows who it is and what it's about. But it's amazing how many people really haven't got the full scope of the Drayton story is. And I have a few slides that they brought along. It's called an award-winning, not-for-profitable charitable organization that was founded 29 years ago. And we now have 7 venues. Each is a very distinct property, the Drayton Opera House in Drayton. And I'll show you these properties as we go along. Providing entertainment, affordable, accessible, and free parking. And it's unbelievable how 29 years later there are still a lot of people who've never heard of Drayton. We started in 1991, and Alex Mustakis is the artistic director. He and I go way back. He's 12 years younger than me. We both celebrate birthdays in July, and this year he'll be 60. And anyhow, we performed together and got to know one another years before in KW Musical Productions in the Waterloo Region Gilbert and Sullivan Society, where we were both performers. I was always cast. I've never auditioned for a role. I've always had a call and said, we've got a perfect role for you. And it's always a loud guy with a hat. I never get to kiss the girl, but I've had a lot of fun doing comedic character roles over the years. Many of them at Gilbert and Sullivan before we got into KW Musical Productions, where we did Guys and Dolls. I was Big Julie, the gangster. When we did Fiddler on the Roof, I was Laser Wolf, the butcher. And so on. Alex and I became friends, and then he finished his degree at Laurier, and he went off to England to study to get his master's degree in theater arts administration, because he took the business degree at Laurier to suit his father. His father brought the family here from Cyprus when Alex was 6, and he says, you're going to get an education, you're going to go into business. And Alex has been putting on shows since he was 6 years old in his garage, kind of like a Mickey Rooney thing you see on TV. Put on a show and they'll come. And he's been doing that all his life, and when we got involved with KWMP, he started directing. And then he went off to England to study, and he and I corresponded the old-fashioned way by pen and paper, because there wasn't any email back then. And he kept saying, I still love to perform, but I want to direct and I want to produce, and I'd like to, present all kinds of theater. So I said, well, you need your own theater. And I took him up to Drayton when he got home and introduced him to the town council, John Green and others. And I said, this guy will put your little village on the map. Give him the theater that is sitting there empty. It was saved from the Wreckers Ball by a $200,000 fundraising locally because it didn't pass fire code. And the community decided to save it, and one of the old farmers up there, Bruce Sheik, wanted to save that building because his grandfather built it in 1902. And he said, we spend a lot of money on parks and rinks and hockey and baseball. We should have some arts and entertainment in our community as well. And so that's how the theater got saved. And I went to the council and I said, you give him your theater for $1 a year, and he'll do the rest. You take care of the outside of the building, we'll take care of the inside. And that's exactly what happened. Then they said, okay, you got to agree to come and sit on the board with us and help us convince council. And so we formed a board, and I've been a board member ever since, except for 6 years when I quit to become a staff member. And then when that ended, I went back on the board. So I've been around since day one as a founding director. And Alex was true to his word. He said, we'll do an amazing job, and we decided on a mandate. We had to pick a mandate. Stratford is a half an hour that way. You can get Shakespeare over there. You can go to Niagara-on-the-Lake for Shaw. You can go to Blythe for all things Canadian that somebody's brother-in-law wrote that nobody wants to go to. And so our choice was music and laughter. And that was our mandate. And that means, somebody said, that means you'll never do a drama? Oh no, we'll do. But music and laughter is our identity, our ID. And we'll sneak in some extra dramas to expand the experience when time gets going and people get used to coming. The first few years it was all women coming to the theater dragging their husbands. Because they thought, oh geez, here we go for another snooze fest. And I was the general sales manager of CFCA and CKKW Radio at the time. We became his #1 sponsor. And instead of giving him money, we gave him all our unsold airtime. Radio time is limited by the government. 230 minutes a day is all you can sell. Unlike a newspaper, you can't stick in extra inserts. So the time wasn't sold, we put Drayton on. And we wouldn't let the announcers do a commercial for Drayton until they saw the caliber of the work that Alex does. So when they got on the radio and started to talk, they really knew what they were talking about, and it was believable. And the very best advertising in the world is one-to-one. If I tell you about something, well, the very second best thing is live radio when it's done credibly, and when that means now it's 1 to thousands. And Fred Merritt and Phil Meehan and the first few guys got on the radio, and they said, you won't believe this guy Moustakis, what he's doing up in Drayton. You got to go up and see it. And we drove people the 35 miles to Drayton from KW, and it's a 400-seat theater. The first year it had 1 washroom for men, 1 for women, 1 toilet. It had wooden seats, no elevator, and the library was in the main floor, and the town council chamber was where our lounge is. And we sold 14,592 tickets. Alex hired Alan Lund, Canadian fame, to write and produce and direct the first show called Vaudeville. Because that's an old opera house where Beatrice Lillie and other vaudevillians had performed many, many years before. We thought that'd be appropriate, and so Alex was on stage the very first year, as was I, and the Mantini sisters and a bunch of other performers. I was the sergeant of police in the second production, which was Pirates of Penzance. Loud guy with a hat. And so, what else have we got here? There's the Drayton Festival Theater, 1902 Opera House. Malou Blamey, a local firm, has gone up there and renovated it a few times, built all these flower beds, new staircases, and inside and out, there's what it looks like now. It's got the old pressed tin ceiling, it's a spectacular opera house. Upstairs over, that's an Andrew Carnegie Hall. He donated money for people for building libraries all around North America, but when he found out they were putting in theaters, which he called something worse, strip places, what did they used to call them? Anyway, he canceled the program. But Harriston, Palmerston, Drayton, and a few other communities have similar buildings where there's a town hall and a theater snuck in upstairs, taking advantage of Andrew Carnegie's library money. Anyway, that's the floor has been replaced there now. We got rid of all the squeaks and creaks and broken pine. We put in hardwood, new seats. But when that started, that was wooden seats. We had a basket out at the back, and we said it was our cushion fund. And an old guy in Drayton, he sewed cushions all one winter, and he sewed foam in a colorful cloth, and we had stacks of these pillows, and we just said a rental, but we didn't put a price on it. Somebody said, let's put $2 a cushion. And we said, no, I'll just put a donation. We were getting $5. And in 2 years, we raised $100,000 in that little basket for new seats. And then we extended the balcony out by 2 or 3 rows here. We put a great big beam with a crane through one window, right across through, right out the other window, and put a support wall in and extended the balcony to make it a 400-seat theater. 16 of those tiles were rotten, and I defy you to find which ones are plastic. We took one down, had it molded by a guy out in New Dundee, I believe, and he made new ones to match the old ones. And it is a state-of-the-art jewel now, and there's where the town council chamber was. Now it's a lounge for people, and it's a beautiful facility. That was theater number 1. And there's Moustakis himself. He's won awards and recognitions in various places. As the place grew, we met Milo Shantz one day, and Milo said, why don't you come to St. Jacobs and have a second theater? And we opened the schoolhouse in St. Jacobs. And that's a century-old Mennonite schoolhouse, a block off the main drag behind the blacksmith shop, 120-seat space, cabaret space, and it runs generally from late August right through till Christmas. And it's generally sold out all the time. That was theater number 2. Then we went to King's Wharf in Penetangue. The Ontario government spent $3 million fixing an old wharf warehouse, part of the Huroney Historical Park. And they said, we built a theater there, but very much like many of the other things Mike Harris did, it didn't work. And in fact, he's the inventor of the common sense revolution. Up in North Bay, you can still see the evidence today where the massage parlor has become self-serve. Anyway, this is King's Wharf. It was a unique location sitting on the shores of Discovery Harbor. People could come from their cottages around Midland and Penetangue by motorboat and pull right in and tie up, and there was a theater there and a restaurant, and this is the theater. And there's the water off to the left, and this is it's all like a great big stereo cabinet. It's all the place is entirely wood. Wooden walls, wooden floors, amazing acoustics. And I think there's a second shot here. Just a year ago, we did all new raked flooring and new seating. And there used to be a weird number. The government built it. there was like 3 seats on one side and 5 on another, and then the rest in the middle. And now we have 4 and 4. People like to come in pairs. Anyway, those are all brand new, beautiful seats that match the ones in St. Jacobs. This is a 400-seat theater as well. So we have a 400 in Drayton, 120 in St. Jacobs, and 400 in Penetang. And then we got a call from the Huron Country Playhouse. They've been in business for 30-some years, and the board was trying to run it. They were telling the artistic director how to program it. They were fighting. They were not getting along. So they phoned Drayton and said, if you want our theater, it's yours. But we have a $400,000 debt associated with it. But if you take and look after the debt, we'll give you the facility. It's in an old barn outside Grand Bend, a mile out of town. It's been there forever. Very successful. Started in a tent and went to the big barn. And so there it is now. The construction company I'm associated with went down there recently. We've done a full renovation. You wouldn't believe the spectacular spot here. There's a store here where the guild runs things. And they have 2 stages there, main stage and Playhouse 2. And the main stage is 650-seat theater with a balcony up above there. You can see we put all new seats in there, got rid of those tin things that they came used from a movie theater after they were 25 years old. Oh. They were very sticky. We put in all these beautiful new seats, painted, sealed up the cracks where the birds and the bats came in, and made it into a beautiful theater with air conditioning and heat. And it is a showpiece in the summertime. In the 40th anniversary, blah, 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 we built Playhouse 2. We took down the old barn that was full of post-war beetles and termites and things, and we knocked it down. It was in really bad shape. When we took over that place, it was a joint. The parking lot wasn't paved. The first year we paved the parking lot, retired $400,000 in debt, and sold more tickets than they'd ever sold in their life. And we did that all in the first year. Then as we went along, we've done these renovations and improvements. The old farmhouse that was here was full of bats and coons. It's been taken down. We have a gazebo there now for people to come and have lunch. The parking lot is paved now through our friends at Lavis Contracting. And now when the Coke truck arrives, there isn't a cloud of dust coming over you and your egg salad sandwich. It's really a lovely setting out in the country. And Playhouse 2 is a 300-seat theater, state-of-the-art, raked floor, no bad line of sight, backstage dressing rooms. The dressing rooms before we got there were the worst things you'd ever seen. Remember one time one of our actors was sitting on the toilet and a coon fell through the drop ceiling right in his lap. He said, I was just fortunate that I had my pants down. It was a terrible place. Now we have 30 dorms there where people live. Actors can live and stay and go for a nap between shows. There's kitchens, there's all the appliances. I think Doug Fisher helped us with microwaves, and like, you wouldn't believe how this not-for-profit company has continued to grow and flourish. So 300 seats there, 650 in the big one, and in the summer alone, just in the summer, this is a summer theater as is King's Wharf, we'll do maybe 60,000 tickets in sales. And then, what's this? St. Jacobs Country Playhouse. There was a winery out there and it went broke. It sat empty for years. The parking lot wasn't paved. It was growing weeds. And a number of people, including Milo Shantz and Murray Haas and various other partners in the hotel next door, which was the Best Western, now the Marriott, they said, how'd you guys like to come and put a theater here too? We were always worried about how could we cannibalize ourselves. But we said, no, this is good. There's a market out there. When Milo went to get a bank loan for the first hotel out there, he got turned down by the bank. So he went to his friends, Arnie Brown and Murray Haas and Walter Hackborn and a bunch of others, and they all chipped in a few $1,000s. They built that hotel. And the day we did the ribbon cutting, which I was the MC for, we announced the 40-room addition because it was just booked that fast. The bank said it would never work. Now there are 5 hotels out there, and another one's going to be built starting in April. So it's an amazing facility, and it was a beautiful building, but in the back was a winery with a flat floor and all these big vats. We had to take them out, we had to cut the floor down, create a raked flooring, build an orchestra pit under the stage, and it's another 400-seat space. And Bernie Malul got so impressed by this Alex Moustakis that he commissioned a lady from Wellesley, Ruth Abernathy. She's a noted Canadian sculptor, and she did this sculpture of Alex Moustakis up on stilts, and she called it the balancing act, because she couldn't believe how he balanced 6 theaters at a time and performed and produced and hired, and so Bernie put that statue up just because he thought we should. He's tried to get some public art going in the community all around like that, honoring people alive and dead who have made a significant contribution to our region. And so that's the first of one of those statues. Here's the inside look of St. Jacob's Playhouse. Many of you have been there. We've sold the boxes to people upstairs. It's a very intimate space, another 400-seat theater. And then along the way, in 2013, which is 6 years already, we had the city of Cambridge came at us. They wanted a theater downtown. There was a hue and cry, oh, it'll never fly. There was people wrote to the paper every day, it'll never fly. We talked the city of Cambridge into giving us $6 million, province $6 million, and the Fed $6 million. And we said, you do it and he'll do it, and you do it and they'll do it. And we kept going back and forth till they all figured they had to, because the other one was. And we got $18 million, and that was just a number. We pulled out of the air one day. They said, how much would it cost for a theater? Alex said, $18 million. Okay, let's get it. So we went about and we re-lobbied the Tories and the Liberals and the City Council, and they all threw in their $6 million. We didn't want to own the theater. It belongs to the city of Cambridge. Let's build it. And then we found out, oh shit, we should ask for 24. And we did. We raised another $4 million ourselves to make it a phenomenal facility in Cambridge. And this is the first one we built right out of the ground. And now it stands down there, and it's our #1 theater as far as traffic. And Alex said theater should be accessible and open and inviting. So many theaters built in the old world were stairs and walls, and they were exclusive. They kept a lot of people out. He wants people to come in. So we built all this glass front. We've got rehearsal halls and shops backstage, 3 rehearsal halls, big shop, prop set, 33 dorms upstairs where actors can live. And it's really quite a beautiful facility. And it's a 500-seat theater. So collectively, we sell a lot of bums in seats. Last year, we did over 250,000 bums in seats. First year, we did 14,592. Budget the first year was $99,000. And that was 3 shows, three weeks each, 8 shows a week, professional schedule. And we wondered how we were going to do it. We said, well, let's just build it. And our poster the first year was like a cornfield out in the country with a combine going around cutting out a swath, and there was a theater, and it was built on the Kevin Costner movie, Build It and They Will Come. And we did, and they did. Second, third year up in Drayton, the second, third, and fourth year were sold out entirely before the season opened. Because people realized, hey, they do good work there. Now, 29 years later, the people from Toronto and Hamilton and others are discovering us, and they're saying such things as, my gosh, it's just like professional. We say it is professional. We've got, right now, 2 shows on stage, both have actors from Broadway on stage. Yeah, they can't wrap their head around a $40 ticket and free parking. And that's one of our mandates, and it's one of our secrets. Make it accessible, make it affordable, so everybody can come and enjoy live arts. We're going to do Annie this year. For example, we had an audition, open call for Annie. 305 little girls showed up. They want to be Annie. And that was like 305 mothers, too, backstage. That's called downtown. And for those people who said it wouldn't work, now it's unbelievable how it's working. This you're seeing some of the back stuff where they build sets and props and costumes, and it's just an amazing experience. And John or somebody suggested we should do a Rotary luncheon there someday and take you backstage and see the whole facility inside out.
Just gonna say that.
If you're interested, you wouldn't believe what goes on. It's a machine. Budget this year is $13.6 million. We hire 800 people at the peak of the season. We've got set designers, costumes, musicians. Chuck's son is one of our favorite musicians. We've got stars that come from everywhere. Drayton is now on the New York hit list. When a show in Drayton or in New York is finished, they give us first dibs on it now. They have such respect for Mastakis. Rocky, we just got it straight out of Broadway. It's playing in Cambridge now. If you haven't seen it, you should. The guy who plays Stallone is better than Stallone. And they're singing in it, and it suits so well. And then Priscilla just opened last Friday at the St. Jacob's Playhouse. And Priscilla, I've already talked to a few here tonight who were there that night. Never have we seen such a roaring opening night crowd, people on their feet stomping and clapping and cheering, and it's selling like crazy. People are coming out of the theater and buying tickets for return visits and to bring their friends and neighbors. I got into the theater, as I said, years and years ago, and some of you may have seen me in my mounted police uniform. We started that, and the reason we did things like that is because you pay huge royalties to Disney, 15% plus a ticket price when you get Beauty and the Beast or Mary Poppins or something like that. So we pay huge royalties. So shows like ours, we write them ourselves, we have no royalties, we sell them out, and so we make big profit on our shows and small profits on the Disney shows, but the Disney shows are the ones that get your attention, and so together we pay the bills. Drayton's the only theater company in Canada that takes no government funding for operations. Has never taken any in 29 years, has never been in the red once, has made money every single year and has turned it back into the profit, into the operations. And theater traditionally is a very inefficient business. You build sets and costumes and do a show and then throw them out. That's why with 7 theaters around the province, we can transfer a show from here. Next year it goes over there, we reuse, we take more value from those sets and costumes. And it is really quite something how fast you can make it work, and you create bigger, longer contracts for actors. The people who are in Rocky and Priscilla right now, he's also got some of them cast in other shows that were going in our season, and he's creating a longer season, because actors are an amazing breed. They're triple threats. They sing, they dance, they act, and yet in between shows they're waiting on tables or they're looking for work. We pay athletes 10 and 20 and 30 million bucks a year to scratch and spit and fight in public. And yeah, actors really get the scale for a while, and then that's it. It's I got into this thing, and with all these Mountie characters, we kept creating. We did Canadian Looney, we did Canadian Toonie, we did Sorry I'm Canadian, 3 versions of it. We did Canadian Legends, we did Canada 151, we did Bending the Bows way back. And we always suit it, or write it, to today's news. The first one, Bending the Bows, was when Chrétien was Prime Minister, and Mounties were sleeping at 24 Sussex, and people broke into the house at 24 Sussex, and Mrs. Chrétien chased them away with an Eskimo carving. So that's how our show opened up. I'm sleeping on the landing. People coming into the theater, and I'm sound asleep at a security desk. Had the TV monitor, the clipboards, and all the phone, and all the accoutrements, and I'm sound asleep under my hat. People walk by, and at 8 o'clock I wake up and walk in. How'd you get in here? And that's the premise. And it tied in with what was on in the news and the sleeping Mounties. That's who I first was. And then when the money changed to a Looney, we became Canadian Looney, and then Canadian Toonie, and so on. And every year those shows have been remarkably successful because we write them ourselves. We get a jar of fine whiskey, and we sit down, and Alex and I write it. And it's been a great experience. And there's not just our, we've done other shows that he's written. There's a show coming up this year that John's group's going to about the Preston women's hockey team. What's it called? Something like
Glory.
Glory. Glory Days or Glory something.
Oh, Glory in the Rivulets.
Yeah, that's it. And this is what it's all about, is entertaining. If you haven't seen Rocky or Priscilla, I challenge you to go if you can get tickets, because it's spectacular. And after 6 or 8 of my shows, I started running out of material, as some of you have maybe remember. I've told the odd story more than once. So I phoned my friend Dave Broadfoot to help me. And he was thrilled to help. Dave Broadfoot is a Canadian icon who's now gone to the great beyond, but he helped us write. He would phone me with a joke, and I'd say, that's perfect, send that to me, email that. I don't have email. Well, then I said, fax it. Well, if I fax, I have to go down to the corner to the dry cleaner. Well, what's the matter with an old-fashioned handwritten letter? I said, nothing. So I'm glad he did that, because now I'm quite happy that I have a collection of letters that Dave Broadfoot wrote me with some of the best material you ever saw. I'm going to do a story, a coast-to-coast thing in Canada. I said, I got to go all across Canada, one of my shows, called Sorry I'm Canadian. Oh, good, and he had a story on every town and city that I could name. I said, I'm going to High River, Alberta. High River, Alberta. That's the home base of the first farmers in history to grow frozen vegetables. He had a line for everything. And together, he and I worked, we just had such fun together, writing these shows. I said, Alberta, it's the next province. Oh, Alberta, the province that's proud to give the rest of the country gas. Home of Stockwell Day. Now, when an American asks, what is Stockwell Day, you tell them that's the day Canadians go to the liquor store to get ready for the long winter. And all that old home of country music. Who can ever forget that great hit, I'm so lonesome without you, it's like you're still here. My favorite, it's hard to kiss the lips at night, to chew your arse out all day long. And it didn't matter what province we went to, we had another joke, we had another town. I did Harriston, I did Palmerston, I did Stratford, home of the great Shakespearean Festival, where you may be greeted by an usher who would say, do yous know where yous are sitting? Or do yous need me to help yous? That was English. Shakespeare is, that was Canadian. And we promote Canada, and to be surprised. And of course, last year, when doing the show, I had a newspaper bit, and I had to come out and did what was in the news. It changed every day. I loved it. The band laughed with me every day because it was fresh. And Trump was such a, I had to go to bed, just look at the news, and there's more material for tomorrow. You know, having him as a president is like hiring a pedophile to be your babysitter. Anyway, the one thing got me a big laugh with Trump was last summer was when those kids were saved and rescued from the cave in Thailand. And it was an amazing story how the world came together to save those 12 boys. And the audience applauds immediately. I'm reading it in the paper, and I just have bullets in the paper. And I said, well, and Trump, it says, wants to invite them to the White House. Well, half the boys have already said they'd just as soon go back to the cave. What's next? Oh, I guess that's all. People like to ask questions, and I'm leaving just 5 minutes. Yes, Bill.
A couple of questions, Neil. Is the direction all done by Alex, or are there outside directors that he?
Oh, now he with 7 theaters, he has to hire directors. Okay. And he hires. We now have, because of our succession planning, Alex is going to be 60. He's been doing this for 29 years. People always say, what happens if you get hit by a bus? Can somebody fill the void? So now we have first full-time HR people, we got full-time accounting people, we got full-time sets and costume people, and we now have an assistant artistic director, David Conley, who directed Priscilla brilliantly. And Alex still will walk into the rehearsal hall and tweak it because it's his touch. He's still the overall CEO and artistic director. He says CEO stands for Chief Entertainment Officer.
My second question is a little more hardcore, if you will. Of your budget, what's the estimated value of the payroll? Because the payroll and the money spent in the community on suppliers and things like that, in other words, is there a figure that is kind of in your head about how much goes back to the community aside from the artistic value?
Well, that's a very interesting question. We've determined that for every dollar spent in theater, $8 is spent in the community. Okay. We've created tourism within Ontario. People are staying now at those hotels in St. Jacobs, and they're coming for 2 or 3 days. They're going to Cambridge, they're going to the schoolhouse, they're going to Grand Bend, they're going to the farmer's market, they're staying over, they're buying gas, they're eating in restaurants. And it's really, we've created tourism right within our own province. They love going up Penetang, they go down to Grand Bend, and I see people at all the theaters. People buy 7 and 8 and 9 shows, and they make it part of their holiday.
Okay.
But this year, it's interesting to note, we had a $1.6 million surplus.
Ooh, that's good.
Not many theaters can say that. Stratford gets $20 and $30 million a year from the government, and they're always in the hole. Yes.
Can you talk about Cindy Williams?
Cindy Williams, yeah, that's another star. We've got her coming. She's going to be starring in Thoroughly Modern Millie this summer. She was with Laverne and Shirley. You'll remember her on TV. Last year we had George Wendt from Cheers. He played Willie Loman in Death of a Salesman. And he's gone on to Broadway. He played a role that I'm going to be playing this year. I'm going to be an elf, the musical, and I've taken George Wendt's role as Santa Claus coming this year. We're out of time. I see the thanker getting up. Yes, Mac?
Just wanted to ask, what sort of relationship does Drayton have with Center in the Square and the Conrad Theater here in the area?
Not much. They like to run their own show. We'll cooperate. We've done my show. We've done a few other shows with the symphony. Instead of a 5-piece band, we've had a 50-piece orchestra behind me, and I'll do the whole Canadian show live on stage at the Center in the Square. We're working with the Cambridge Symphony. We work with them if they want to, but the theaters are city operated and privately run. And you gotta keep programming for people to come. And right now you'll see us, our first group who came with us came 29 years ago. A lot of them are dead or disabled. We're programming now for the next generation. We have a travel club that we acts as a fundraiser. We take people on trips every year. We do all the thinking for them. We get a 60% repeat factor. Mark us down, we're going with you next year. We've taken cruises and bus trips. Everybody gets a $300 a head tax receipt for supporting the theater. We take entertainers along with us. We put on our own private cabarets for them. And it's really a creative way of raising funds and engaging people with the theater. Now this year you'll see more modern productions because the next generation is coming. But at the same time, you got to keep entertaining those people who want to come and mix it up. Where's Doug? Here. Oh, good, somebody's going to get their eyes restored. I